Welcome to this segment here today on awakening and how awakening is going mainstream. So today we're going to be discussing, like I said, how awakening is going mainstream. It seems to be cropping up everywhere now. And we're going to specifically be speaking with Miro Heyink on what that journey from his own personal experience, his own challenges in his life that he's been through, to now becoming a six-figure coach, helping high performers to awaken. For those of you who are not familiar with Miro, he's a founder of Manifest X. It's a 1,000-member plus strong community for high-performing conscious entrepreneurs. And Miro has worked with former NFL Super Bowl champions, thought leaders, 6, 7, and 8-figure entrepreneurs, and also top digital marketing agencies. Miro was born in Germany in a fatherless home, and he immigrated to America at 18 after a near-death experience. And Miro found the secrets to success as part of his own life journey through some really challenging experiences. So with that introduction, let me go ahead and bring Miro onto the stage. Miro, welcome. Great to see you today.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much for the kind introduction.
I gave, just the most brief introduction to your background, and you and I are connected through the Speakeasy Mastermind Network, which is an incredible network of high performers unto ourselves. It's a great community and place. That's where you and I are connected. But for the people who don't know and haven't had an opportunity to meet you already, why don't you tell us a little bit about your own journey from the challenges that you've been through to what you do today?
Yeah, it definitely makes for a cool story. When they say when you don't get what you want, you get experience. And so I got a lot of experience early in life. I'm from Germany originally, so please forgive me for being German. That's a German joke. I grew up in Germany, fatherless home, as you shared, mixed race. So my story was always not black enough, not German enough. I didn't know who my father was, and I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. There was no sense of community or like-minded people gathering that I could really resonate with. And this yearning for community and where do I belong has started early, and at first put me sort of on the wrong path. But that was my perception at the time, which is getting into drugs and alcohol and gang life culture. And I was looking up to Snoop Dogg and Tupac Shakur, and I found out that I wanted to be a gangster, but I was too friendly to be a gangster. I was more like Deepak Shakur, So that actually led to my first awakening. I had 3 spiritual awakenings. I write about it in my first book, which is to be determined when and how it's coming out. But it's been an awakening, truly. And so in life, I know you've experienced this. There's these types of awakenings where you have this like cosmic 2x4 that like pulls the rug from under you in life, and people go through divorce, people go through near-death experiences, and lose their jobs or whatever that is, to force them to wake up. And that's what happened for me at that time. And I found myself, at a near-death experience, nearly dying at 17 years old, substance abuse, and then gang members threatened to kill me at 17. It helped me over the edge of a balcony on a 7-story building. I had a black eye, broken nose, and it was a real wake-up call where I got clear, okay, I don't want to live my life this way anymore. I had this like elevator moment where the door was broken in and my nose was broken, and I had a black eye. And every time the elevator would go up, go ding, I was like, oh no, they're coming back to like kill me this time for real. And that fear and that thing was my wake-up moment to like, okay, I don't want to live my life this way anymore, and I can change it. So I decided to change my life by, committing to going to follow my dreams. I wasn't just going to get out of a bad situation. I was going to really go for it. I had nothing to lose. I was really going for my purpose, my calling, and have been dreaming of going to America one day to find the environment where I could belong. And I did. I just went all in, and within 18 months, all these miracles happened in my life. And I discovered the power of commitment. And within months, I had a billionaire philanthropist invest in me, and mentors invest in me, and community that really believed in me and invested in me. And that really opened up the gate to transformation. I got into personal development. I noticed working with at-risk youth, which is to paint a purpose story. There was kids that they were going through the same struggles that I was going through: substance abuse, gangster recruiting, fatherless homes, domestic abuse. I realized that for them to break the cycle of poverty, they needed education. And for me to give it to them, I had to become educated first. So that's when I committed to really mastering myself and personal development early. I went on a crazy binge to develop myself, to give back, become a teacher, educate at heart. Still to this day, I coach, I teach, trainings, I certify energy healers. But it really put me on the path to entrepreneurship. I started my own school, became successful so in college, and then later having a successful career. I would say successful because that was my second awakening. So it's a corporate dropout experience, like many of us entrepreneurs got initiated through, having success at some level, but feeling unfulfilled. Material success. I was married, and my son was 2 when I went through a divorce. That was my second spiritual awakening. And it was, again, a very hard experience, the hardest experience of my life up until that point. It was literally my whole world shook. Being a father and a husband was my entire reality, and working at this job was my whole identity concept. And I had made it my master. And so that awakening served me really well through a brutal initiation, homelessness, starting the business from nothing without knowing anything what I was doing. And that taught me that there was another way. That there was another way to awakening, but they gave me the gift of starting my own business, as you said, becoming a 6-figure conscious entrepreneur, launching Manifest X Mastermind to actually create a community that I needed, with both spiritual people and entrepreneurs in the same place, working together, building together, where it's okay to discuss channeling, spiritual awakenings, and healing, as well as profits, purpose, mission statements, marketing strategies, and actually supporting each other, affiliate partners, things that we're doing. We're speaking on stages, and so each time it's like pain to purpose over and over again. And then the third spiritual awakening, which I'm so proud of, it's totally shifted the narrative, because it was no longer, okay, near-death experience, the rock being pulled from under my feet. It was going to a training where I get to learn transformational tools like Theta Healing, using that tool to heal myself, manifest. Things started coming with me. Things started coming to me with flow and ease, as opposed to a hustle, grind, struggle. And I manifested my compatible soulmate. My business went from 6 figures in a year to 6 figures in a month to 6 figures in one day by, speaking from stage and serving at my first international retreat.
Let me jump on in here real quick, because I want to relate to some of the things that you've said already, and kind of break things down a little bit and let you know kind of how things resonate with me. I find it very fascinating listening to your personal journey, because it really reflects the journey of so many entrepreneurs, right? Like Tony Robbins has almost like the same story as you, right? Almost the exact same story. And I can relate to your story as well. Each of our journey and our struggles that we go through are the same. But what I find very in common, like I said, Tony Robbins, myself, I think about, the founders of Paul Mitchell, right? He lived in his car as well. He had a couple of different, ups and downs. You call them awakenings, which is really interesting. I want to, jump into that terminology a little bit here as we go along. But again, it's like a common theme. And one of the things that I have noticed as I coach people in terms of like finding their way and finding the particular area that they want to like serve within, which is this, like when you have gone through a challenge and you get to the other side of it, whether that's like you said, like your first other side, your first awakening that you described. But like when you get to the other side of it, like you're almost like naturally equipped to help people who are back where you started.
That's the biggest gift. So I'm grateful that you're speaking life into that, because nothing feels more rewarding in my experience than turning that was my awakening that had me come from Germany to America, when my first mentor showed me pictures of kids that looked like me and telling me that these kids going through the same struggles, gangs are recruiting, fatherless homes, all that poverty cycles, that they needed male role models, and I could be a role model to them. I was thinking to myself, what if I could help one person not have to go through the pain that I went through? It'll make it all worth it. And then later, when I went through the struggles of becoming an entrepreneur, it was like, what? Like, if I can help another person, like not have to, feel like wanting to take their own life by navigating, the dark night of the soul, that is the process for many of us getting initiated into this work. I can help another person like not want to quit, or actually make that, like, that learning curve shorter and with more ease and with connection and knowing that they're not alone, and with the tools that I learned from my mentors, it'll be all worth it. And that's still today. It's the fuel, It's not just about getting clients. It's about getting success stories, seeing people that are on the same journey as ourselves get to the results, to the promised land, the life of their dreams, way faster and easier than it took for ourselves to do it. And I believe that for many of us, especially in the space of mentorship, coaching, and transformation, it's not just like show me what you've got. It's show me who you've taught. Like, I think the fruit should be, our labor should be in the results of our clients and our students, because that's true mastery. It's not just becoming unconsciously competent, which is an amazing feat for anybody, the Michael Jordan level skill set in your craft, being in your genius zone. This is really my vision for the world. It's not only living in your joy and your genius zone for all of us, and I think that technology supports us with this, that we can do what we love, that we're great at, but also to pay it forward, to live such abundant lives that we can turn to the next person in our families, in our tribes, in our communities, and say, hey, here's what it takes for you to achieve what I got. If I can, you can. And then collapsing those timelines.
I love that. It sounds like that's the source of a lot of your motivation, is what I'm hearing you say. Like, you want to, like you said, save other people from having to go through the challenges that you've gone through. I want to explore this question a little bit, or the use of this word awakening, because I noticed, you use it, right, and I use it as well, and we're saying, that awakening is going mainstream.
Yeah.
And I hear that in many circles. So tell me, what does that mean to you, like awakening? And when you speak about, like, your first awakening and your second awakening, what does that mean?
I relate awakening to consciousness, and consciousness is something that we can choose any moment. None of us are exempt from default programming. It's the media, our parents, our grandparents, our own DNA. There's programming coming from external and internal factors that often have us detached from our intuition, detached from our soul's purpose. There are oftentimes external events that happen in our lives that force us to wake up, like my elevator moment when I was Gangster the Guru journey as a teenager, or the divorce was like, like universe going, wake up, you're not meant to be in this situation, you called to a higher place. And it's just like breaking through a shell process. Like, I think crabs breaking through a shell to like outgrow their shell, and it's an uncomfortable process. Butterflies, going through that process. But it's the awakening of, okay, I have been doing life in a way that no longer serves me at where I'm being called to go. And it's a process of surrendering. And when I say consciousness is going mainstream, there's a global awakening happening right now. There's a global waking up movement, and it's perfect for the healers, to coaches, the conscious entrepreneurs in the world, because our medicine is needed and desired now more than ever. You see it everywhere. The conversation around, alcohol, which has been the norm for so long. Now people are looking for alternative ways to have, alcohol-free beverages, to go to ecstatic dance parties, to explore meditation and breathwork as a way to get high on our own supply, as opposed to go to the clubs and like to numb out. People are looking for alternative ways to heal themselves, alternative ways to spend their time, to live lives more in alignment with their values. And that's the thing. We have so much default programming from all around us, the media and all the things what we should do. How many parents told their kids, like, oh, you got to become a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, because for safety, security reasons, or because I didn't, so you get to, or because I did, you need to. And so it robs us from our authentic soul's purpose, what we're meant to do on this planet. And the global awakening movement that is, I believe, is aligning us to our authentic values as individuals, which actually connects to the greater whole, sort of the new earth, the community reality that is an abundant life, that is a connected reality where everybody has enough. I believe we already have all the resources. There's more than enough money for everybody. There's more than enough, health technology, literally, to cure any disease that we have. And it's just literally becoming aware and a conscious awakening to realizing the tools and abundance that is all around us, and focusing on the positivity and the resources that we already have, especially as we connect to each other. So that's, I think, where the magic really happens, is when we start to connect to a community of like-minded people, share resources and ideas, because together, like it's like literally, it's like 1 + 1 = 11. And the more people we get into this environment, as you see in our masterminds, it's like any problem can be solved when we bring more than 2 people together, because
Yes.
this is greater consciousness that's in a room that actually solves problems with us. And so
Yes.
that's something that more and more people get in tune with and begin to work with, in order to cause an awakening in their own lives and in the lives of others.
Yeah, that brings a lot of clarity to it, and I certainly relate to it. It's, it can be, I think, a word that's, in a terminology that's worth defining. What does it mean to awakening? And I think you did a pretty good job to it. One of the things that it sparked off to me as you were mentioning it, particularly like in terms of like people, like moving away from the things that they've been programmed around, or maybe, have been marketed to, or meant to believe this is the way the world is, like particularly around like drugs and alcohol, which I've also, had my own experiences with those things. Many people have, right? Because there are things that make us feel good. But you mentioned like now people are open to ways to have that ecstatic experience more naturally. And what really resonates with that is the opportunity that creates, as you mentioned. Like there's now other products. I don't even want to use the alternative products. It's like
Right.
there's just other ones. There's other ways. And so super exciting to hear about that. I want to focus the discussion a little bit around your own toolkit and the ways that you work with clients, and what are some of the potent formulas that are in your world, and what do you call them?
Yeah, I'm so excited. So, I've tried everything when it comes to the spiritual awakening journey and healing myself, from, doing ayahuasca in the jungle with shamans, the holotropic breath work, and every, yoga pose that I could think of, and therapy and journaling, affirmations, all the affirmations. So I've tried everything. And on my journey, I will say that some things simply work better than others when it comes to causing my own awakening. And the tool that I now teach and committed to bringing into the world is called Theta Healing. And Theta Healing is a transformational modality that taps into unconscious mind, but really works on 4 levels of consciousness. And what it's doing is it's allowing us to connect to source. And instead of having these like near-death experiences to cause an awakening, it's as simple as tuning into a meditation process, where in 5 minutes people can have complete clarity on who they are, be connected to one. It's like connecting to the Force from Star Wars. Yeah, Theta Healing has been my jam. I now certify healers in that modality, and coaches and transformational leaders, so they can impact their clients with it, and sort of create an amalgamation of their gifts and experiences to enhance services to their clients. We used it to manifest I manifest my compatible soulmate, which was the best decision ever. If anybody's into manifesting and using consciousness to consciously create our own reality, having a soulmate that's compatible is the best. Recommended, 5 stars to everybody. After having tried, not having a compatible soulmate, having that has been really, really amazing. And then we can also consciously call in our soul family, soulmate dream clients, community. And it starts to become this thing where it gets better. The better it gets, the better it gets. And started to practice just getting high on my own supply, so just like tapping into the energy of our own energy, and allowing that to create magnetism. And it's like it creates this effect where you ever walk into a room, or like somebody walks into a room, and you just like get this like celebrity energy that's like, ooh, like what just
Yes.
happened? And
Yeah.
the room shifted,
Sometimes I've experienced this, like it's almost like overwhelming sometimes. It's like, have you ever seen that? Like when somebody's like so magnetic, it's like, oh, turn that down.
Yeah. That's also a notice moment, because we get to acclimate to the energy, which is a cool practice. Yeah, that's something that can be taught. That's something that can be learned. It's something that we can all cultivate. Because if you think about, even the power that it's so fascinating, the power that our DNA holds, which I know you and I geeked out a little bit. Theta Healing allows us to not only access the subconscious mind, but also the power of our DNA. Some of us have learned about generational curses and programming, which, yeah, that's a thing. Like we do have, issues in our tissues, but also superpowers. We can do DNA activation. And inside of that, inside our DNA, it's made out of, chromosomes, etc., atoms and protons. And underneath that, it's just literally vibes. It's the quarks, it's the string theory. So inside of that, and the single atom has the power to cause, a nuclear explosion when you split an atom. And we have trillions of cells in our bodies, which holds, trillions of atoms within them. We have more than enough power to create the level of energy that we desire to create, whatever that we want, when we tap into our own DNA. And so that's been something really fascinating to play with as we're reprogramming and redesigning ourselves with intention, using Theta Healing. That's all available.
That's so crazy. I mean, that's so just amazing. And I really do relate to two sides of it. Like there's the science side, which is like this stuff is real, right? This is like atomic. This is, the atomic, we didn't used to be able to see it. And so we didn't even know that it was real. Now we have tools to be able to see it and observe it. And the same thing is now becoming available in terms of different ways that we can actually measure these like magnetic fields or ways of activating within ourselves. One of the things that I noticed you mentioned a little bit in one of your comments somewhere is that there is an experience that some people have, maybe some coaches that are, coming unto their own, where they maybe feel like they're not enough, or they feel like they can't claim their voice. And what do you find to be the thing that you might describe or speak to that issue around, like, what is the thing that holds people back in that way?
Oh man, that's such an important question, because we all go through it. Everybody has to break through a level of imposter syndrome in order to realize their new identity in an evolutionary process, especially for the coaches and the healers and our personal development junkies who are out here continuously level themselves up and grow. It's so important to notice the personal development trap, because once you notice, okay, cool, I'm not good enough, who am I to help these people? Who's going to pay for that? Once we have those thoughts, we got to realize that I, me, and it's all ego. And yes, you can practice and get better at your craft, and that journey continues. It's never finished, a continuous improvement journey. And when we actually surrender the I, me conversation, we can start focusing out. Who am I called to serve? And when we're making our life about who we're serving today, I don't need to be an expert in order to help another person solve their problem. I don't need to be an expert to help another person solve their problem. So that's mindset helped me get out of my own way by focusing on outs. Who can I help? Who, like literally God, like I make a prayer, God, who do I get to serve today? And I stay in stillness until I get answers. And then I will let them know, hey, I just had an intuitive nudge to reach out to you. What's up? And we have a conversation, and then naturally volunteer the exact information that I need to know. So, okay, literally, my life purpose has me that I was born to support you with this. So it's like, that's the power of simply tuning into our intuition and focusing out on who needs help. And we're doing this enough times as a coach, healer, transformational leader. You may have noticed that the people that we attract are the perfect mirrors. And when we support them in having a breakthrough in their life experience, consequently, in real time, we actually break through that within ourselves. And so when I started when I stopped worrying about me making myself happy or better, and I start getting just enough into a state enough where I can go serve another person, it started having this regenerative effect where I'm serving, I'm supporting, I'm making a difference for this person, and my life started to improve.
Yeah, I really relate to that too, because it is that process, like you said, of stepping out of yourself and looking to how you can serve somebody else. And I definitely can relate to the opposite of that, which is when you look into yourself and get kind of myopically focused on, what your own problem is, or what's in the way of your own, gift. But it's more, like you said, focusing out into the world. Well, in particular, speaking to our community here, our One True Calling community, I intentionally named it that way, One True Calling. And then the program that lives within our community, the Pivot to Purpose program. What would you, what do you say to people who are on that journey to, let's say, find what their calling is, find their authentic voice, or the thing that they're meant to serve? Like, how do you talk to people about that and help them?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question because it's so important to realize that there's nothing wrong with you. Like when we're doing the healing journey, you have to remember that you are already whole. If we approach the healing journey and finding our purpose and finding our calling from a place of I'm not enough, who am I to, like, I don't know how to, and then what's wrong with me, it's that kind of conversation that doesn't lead to an actual satisfactory result. But if we come from a place and be reminded of I'm whole, I'm already whole, and I'm always healing, and now who do I get to serve? Where can I use my gifts to really make a difference in the life of others? So that's really where I found the magic happens. And the healing journey continues, but it's both. It's recognizing that you have everything you need. You're already the right person. Simply put yourself into the right position where you can shine. You're already the right person. Like God, the same God who gives you the vision, gives you the provisions. And so that's really the game that we're playing with the universe as we get this spark, the inkling, the nudge of like, cool, I feel called to something higher and greater. I'm called to serve in a new or different way. And I don't know what it looks like. It's being able to trust that process and really being able to focus out on where are my gifts most effectively used in the world. And that's where we start having the income of our dreams, start having the soul tribe, the community that we love. And what's possible once we really embrace that is literally doing what you love with the people you love in the way that you love to do it. I mean, you and I, Gio, we meet at a freaking pool mansion mastermind along like the most amazing heroes, and we're raising our sort of net worth by having cocktails in a pool. You know what I mean? It's like you can really choose your soul tribe and do what you love in the way that you love to do it when you allow yourself to really surrender to the process of discovering and developing your spiritual and natural gifts.
I had the good fortune myself of growing up in an entrepreneurial family, working in a candy store. And so that is, that's part of the messaging that I received. That's the positive part, which is I have always experienced, making money and being of service as something that's fun. People want it already, right? With candy, people want it already. And now I do it in more, more healthy and positive ways. I do want to just step just for a small little step into your world and what your world is like right now. You mentioned, different levels of awakening, which I imagine that also probably corresponds to working with different types of clients. And now it sounds like you're really working with high achievers. What's it like to work with high achievers, NFL, players? People are playing at the highest level. Is there any difference, or is it just a perception thing?
Yeah, there are differences, there are nuances. So I always come from a standpoint of frequency first. So energetically, people sort of, who we perceive as up there, tend to take care of their state, their well-being. They're high energy people. And that's why I'm going to say success, not just like material success, but like opportunities and people, relationships come more effortlessly to them because they maintain a high vibration. So generally it feels uplifting. The values that I think we share are generosity. They feel like they have a moral obligation to serve the needs of the universe. I spoke to someone earlier today who helps, high net worth individuals grow their sort of family offices and trust. And they speak this language of generosity, of giving, being a go-giver, without expecting anything in return. So it's really the opposite of what we've been taught of like the evil billionaire narrative, which is so funny. And that's something that I've noticed with people who are sort of high status and high frequency, high character and high caliber. And then there's nuances between the top 5% of coaches and entrepreneurs and the top 1%. And there are nuances again. And a lot of times, one of the limiting beliefs, several actually, that entrepreneurs get to break through to level up from starting anywhere to getting in the top 5% and in the top 1% is the relationship with responsibility. And I want to ask you, just like, what is your responsibility? Like when you hear responsibility, what comes to mind?
I'll tell you what I relate to from what you've just said, which is that these top achievers are more so top givers, and
Hmm.
so it relates right to what you just asked me. And I guess I've made that awakening as well. I grew up in a family of what I call they're small entrepreneurs, small family entrepreneurs. So my family values were very much about giving back, and yet we gave back at the level that that our own economic ability allowed us to. Like you said, like one of the things that I've noticed, like Tony Robbins, for instance, again, I mean, he was one of my early mentors and people that I trained with at a very early age at 22. And what I did notice and continue to notice from him and people like him is how much they give back, and it is very absolutely opposite of the narrative, and it's hard to break that narrative. Like I noticed on your social media channel, right, you were making some regards to Elon Musk, who is very not well loved right at the moment.
Yeah, right.
But that's the narrative that we hear, whether that's true or not. But I definitely resonate with what you say, that people who are operating at a higher achievement level, part of what allows them to do that is they give back at a higher level.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's maybe it's a formula. There's a correlation between the value that we're putting into the world and into the universe to the material success that comes back to us. And successful people at the highest level, the top 1%, they understand that their job is to provide as much value as possible into the universe in order to create what they want to create in their own personal lives. So that's something that nobody will argue with in the higher places. It's all about creating value for others, and that's, I think, part of the natural evolution of spiritual awakening, the dark night of the soul, finding the soul's purpose. This is caterpillar phase. There's the cocoon phase where you sort of disintegrate, and it's really painful, and I don't desire it on anybody, but it's necessary. And then it's the caterpillar phase, and the caterpillar phase is leading to an education, it's leading to a mastery, and it always leads back to actually multiplying and sharing the abundance with others.
Yeah, I relate to that. And one of the things that I do try to pass on to people, which is my own experience, that every educational thing that I've invested in has paid itself back many, many, many times over again. And I was the first in my family. I'm the youngest of six. So I was the first person in my family to go to college and then to graduate school. And one of the things more than the education itself was I learned the value of learning.
Mm, that's it. Oh man, we can talk about that all day. Uh, I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, I'm a huge believer in mentorship, education, personal development. It's like one of my deepest commitments is personal growth,
Yeah.
and and I think that that's something we have in common. And the likes of the top conscious entrepreneurs are committed to growth and growth over comfort. That's also a key distinction, because most people are looking for comfort, feeling comfortable, and almost like numbing their uncomfortable feelings. Whereas the top conscious entrepreneurs are looking for growth. They're looking for opportunities to become uncomfortable,
Hmm.
because they know as they're growing, like you're expanding your comfort zone. The uncomfortable becomes comfortable, and now you have more capacity to hold more, to give more, to serve.
Yes, I relate to that too. And one of the misconceptions that I have heard sometimes in what I might call the awakening circles is the turning away from that, which is like, oh, if something is challenging, I can't figure out this new software, or the marketing is difficult, or you know, getting on stage is so challenging. I guess it's just not meant to be. It's not for me. And I hear what you're saying, and I just echo it back, which is it's kind of the opposite of that. And not necessarily that we have to bang our head against the wall,
Not at
but
all.
but when there's opportunities to grow, it's not comfortable.
Yeah, and it's having the awareness, from an emotional regulation standpoint, that hey, is this dangerous? Like there's a tiger in your bathroom, dangerous, or is this literally just you have a fear of rejection? What are they gonna say? Say no. so what? You know what I mean? It's like, move on, who's next, right? And so that's a really important distinction to notice, like what are actual, fears versus just a hallucinating, false evidence appearing as real,
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
right on. Well, as we start to wrap things up, and before I even do move into the wrap up, I just want to say that everything that you've brought here today to this discussion is so relevant to the One True Calling community and to the Pivot to Purpose program itself. And so it is my vision, my hope that we will continue to find ways to work together, and that you will come on into the Pivot to Purpose program and bring your wisdom into that program.
I have a insane inspiration to share, and this might be totally oversharing and overgiving, but I'm just going to go with it. And
No, this
so
is pretty close to where I did want to wrap up, because I was going to ask you, what is your vision of awakening, and maybe what your next level is, or just how you see these things unfolding next.
Yeah, so I want to give to all listeners the gift of my masterclass. It's called Introduction to Theta Healing. It's how you manifest and create your own reality. This is the same process I've used to manifest my compatible soulmate and soulmate dream clients, and really, had a soul purpose awakening. And this is the one where, without having the rug being pulled under me in the cosmic 2x4 that ends up being a near-death experience, this is the one where you go to a class, you tune in, you practice the meditation, and start getting direct downloads. So that's my gift to everyone here. And then for people who end up joining the Pivot to Purpose program, I also have a very special gift that I won't reveal here, but you'll find out when you come attend to one of our events and we do our launch. So stay tuned for that. But I'm getting clear guidance on a beautiful, generous gift I get to give everybody there.
I love that. Well, we'll make sure to leave the link down below this video, or somewhere near this video, to your generous offer, and so that people can connect with you directly. But Miro, I want to thank you so much for being here today and being so authentic and sharing your journey. Many times I think people see, people who have celebrity status, or maybe have a big following online, and things all look like beautiful and perfect. It's, I know, and you've said as well, it's not that way, maybe that way in front of the cameras, but that's not what gets somebody there.
We do a good job making it look easy.
Yes. Yes. Well, Miro, thank you again so much for joining us here today. And I will make sure that people have a link to you and have a way to continue to connect with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time and your generosity.